It is Saturday, and you know what that means. Doing stuff around the house, mainly homework. Greek final this weekend, week 7 of the spring term. Lots of stuff going on. But I just wanted to get a video in for the weekend, talk about a couple of things, update you guys on some stuff that's going on. Been posting about it on social media, but I thought I would do a video. There's a couple other things that I wanted to talk about as well. And I know some that listen just to the podcast haven't been able to keep up with some of the news that we've been posting online. So I wanted to update you guys as well. If you are new to Theology Nights, let me just say welcome. And our main areas of content will be facebook.com/Theology Nights and youtube.com/Theology Nights. And so we are, the big thing as of the last couple of weeks is we have joined forces with Dead Men Coalition. And if you're on social media, I'm sure you are aware of who they are. Brandon, who is the founder, he reached out to me when I first started doing Theology Nights, and we became friends, and he put the idea in my head of us joining one day, and just time kind of went on, and we started having the conversation again, and so fast forward almost 11 months later, and here we are. And so as I mentioned on social media, nothing's changing with Theology Nights. We're still doing the same stuff, still doing our live shows, still doing our podcasts and everything like that. We just have been brought in under the umbrella of Dead Men, which will allow us to join forces with other brothers who are like-minded and who want to make much of Christ through the internet, through social media, and through the local church, and through teaching and discipleship. Just made a lot of sense for us to do that, and I'm going to help out with some of the gifts that I have, and likewise they're going to help me out with a lot of their resources and such. But the big thing with that, and this is kind of what I wanted to talk about first, in October is the Cruciform Conference. Now, I know that you've seen posts because there's been a lot going on with it lately, especially over the last week, because we had Dr. Benj on the show, and he is the opening and closing speaker of the Cruciform Conference. But I wanted to talk about that for a little bit in case, again, you're just on the podcast and you're not getting a chance to see the posts on social media or anything like that. Basically, what's going on is Dead Men has started this conference, cruciformconference.com, if you are interested in learning more about what is actually going on with this conference. But some of the ministry partners, as I pull up the website just to kind of read a little bit more about it and give you some information, Nine Marks, Zondervan, Logos, those are 3 big names. The conference is in October 18th and 19th in Indianapolis. So if you're in Ohio, I know a lot of my listeners are in Northeast Ohio. It's about a 6-hour, 5-hour drive, so it's not too bad. And as I mentioned, the highlight, of course, is Dr. Dustin Benj. He has been on Theology Nights twice. He's a good friend of ours. He is the opening speaker, and he is also the closing speaker. And then the list of other brothers, for example, Kofi. You guys remember Kofi? He was on the show before. He's a speaker. And then Brandon, the president and founder of Dead Men, he's also one of the speakers. Go to cruciformconference.com for more information about the conference, because there's quite a long list. And then down here at the bottom, who is this guy? Some guy named Brad Weber, founder and director of Theology Nights. Yes, you have heard it correctly. I have been added to the lineup. So this is what's going on, okay? We'll be there. I am speaking at a conference in Youngstown. So a long time ago, I paired up with a guy who does marketing and social media and stuff like that in our area, and we ended up having a really good conversation. We talked for like an hour one day at my job, and he said, "I want you to apply to be a speaker at our conference coming up in October." And I kind of like laughed. I was like, "Okay, yeah, well, I could do that." And so I did. I applied, and I shared, with him stuff that's going on with Theology Nights and our growth and our impact and stuff like that. And he thought, I must have sounded like I knew what I'm talking about. And so he said, "This is something that I really want you to do, and so would you please apply?" And I did. Well, fast forward a couple months later, he emailed me back, and he said, "I selected you to be one of our speakers." And it's to a large conference. And so, like, I said to my wife one night, I was like, "I think I'm out of my league here. I don't really know. Like, I know how to do analytics and stuff like that." But anyways, the reason why I'm saying this is that is Thursday, Friday, and Cruciform is Friday, Saturday. So my plan is to leave on Friday from Youngstown and then head straight out to Indy. So I'll be in, I hope to catch the evening of the conference on Friday, but then I'll be there all day Saturday. And then Saturday night at 6 o'clock, I am doing a first for us, an on-site live show to talk about the conference. I'm sure we're going to have some of the speakers there. They'll stop by and give their thoughts. I want to speak with the crowd, and I want to hear some takeaways from the conference. And then if during the conference, keep this in mind, if you hear something that you want to talk more about, we'll discuss it during that time. And Brandon had this idea of doing a remote live show, like to do like an actual live show in front of the crowd and to have people involved with it. And so I'm extremely excited for that. And really, it's kind of cool that the things kind of happen the way that they did, because with our GoFundMe campaign and getting the equipment that I have so far, I'm now able to do that. And so when I mentioned that we have some conferences coming up that I want to do, this was one of them, and now I can do it because I've had amazing support, and with the new mic and some of the other equipment I have, I'm able to travel to Indy with my stuff, and we're gonna go do it. So if you haven't got your tickets yet, cruciformconference.com. It's an inexpensive conference, and if you go to conferences a lot, you know that conferences are expensive. This one is definitely not, and for the amount of speakers that you get, it's going to be good. There's also going to be free stuff that you'll get as well for registering, and then just the chance to meet a lot of people that you interact with on social media. Like I've met like a lot of the guys that I talk with on social media, I've personally met, and it's so cool to finally meet that person. You feel like you've been friends for so long, but you've never really, quote unquote, met the person, but you know a lot about them and stuff. I think about so many guys that I interact with on social media, and the guys that I've been lucky enough to meet. And I was talking about Eddie the other day, and I've known Eddie now for, gosh, it's been almost 3 years I've known Eddie, I think. And we just struck up a friendship through Twitter, and I've met him before. He actually was driving through my area. He stopped at my work, and we hung out for a couple hours that day. Then we've hung out at conferences. We have each other's phone number and stuff like that. But the reason why I'm saying that is like there's a lot of good that can come out of social media. I know so often people are anti-social media and they think it's just all bad, and there certainly is a lot of bad that you can do with social media. But there's so much good. You just have to tailor your content. But a conference like this gives you the opportunity to meet a lot of people that you interact with and to become friends with them. So listen, October 18th, October 19th, Friday and a Saturday in Indianapolis, Cruciform Conference. I am really looking forward to being there. I hope you will be there as well. It's going to be a great time. There's amazing speakers. You will learn a lot. You'll have a good time. It's a good weekend of fellowship, good chance to go to Indianapolis. Indianapolis is not too far, but you have plenty of time to sign up. You have plenty of time to plan that trip. So those are the two big things that are going on, us joining up with Dead Men, and then the Cruciform Conference, the speakers that they have, and then us getting added into on Saturday night for the on-site live show, if you will. And then this past week, what do we have going on this past week? Dr. Benj was on the show on Tuesday night. He was gracious enough to join us. We talked about preaching, and it got a huge response on social media. I had a lot of people message me and say, even with my microphone issues, unfortunately, I'm sorry about that too. I got the new mic, and I told Dr. Benj when we started, I was like, listen, I got my stream issues fixed. There's no internet. There's no lag. Like, we don't have any problems with that. And then I started listening to the audio, and I try to make fixes and stuff like that. But I was still tinkering with new gear and everything. And like, I just, I get this gear, like, I get so obsessed with like learning all the details about it, and I always miss something, and with that I did. So, but anyways, the content was there, and you heard Dr. Benj clearly, which was the reason why we had him on. We wanted to hear from him and not from me, and so I got a great response from that, and so I'm thankful for the messages that I received over the last week. And I also received a lot of messages. I posted something on Facebook the other day about the stack of books that I'm working through, and I had a lot of guys message me and say like, can you give me some practical advice on how to work through books like that? Because a stack like that is very intimidating. And so I had really good conversations with people to explain to them, like a book like this. This is the nearest one I have. So Dr. Beakey's Reformed Systematic Theology. This volume is over 1,200 pages long. My goal with that book is not to read cover to cover. So like when I sit down with a book like that, I don't have a plan to like start at page 1 and go to the last page. My goal with a large theological work like that is to pull specific sections out that I want to learn about and I make sure that I'm intentional with my studies. I had some good conversations with some guys and offered them advice, but if you ever are curious about how to read more effectively, that's one of my favorite topics to talk about is how to read more effectively. Send me a message. I'd love to give you some advice, and I'd love to point you into some other resources that have helped me. I think about John Hawkins from Pastor's Discussion Podcast. He posted some podcasts. Actually, when I first found out about him, that was what turned me on to their podcast and became friends with John, was his podcast about how to read more effectively and his style of reading and how he takes notes and stuff like that. I love helping others with that because it's such an important topic to talk about. And we can always grow and we can always improve in how we are reading and how to take more notes more effectively and things like that. So this week has been really encouraging. I always say, like, I want to interact with you through social media and things like that. And it just seems like lately it's really been happening, and that is very encouraging to me. The reason why I do what I do is to make much of Christ and to help others grow in their theology and their understanding. And whatever I can do to do that, I am happy to do so. And the last topic I wanted to talk about for this weekend, I have a lot going on. Again, as I mentioned, I am preaching tomorrow at a local church that I preached at once before. I am looking forward to going back there tomorrow. I have a Greek final tomorrow. I have Old Testament 2. This is week 7, so next week is week 8, and it's a short week, as you know, and with the short weeks, they cram. Like, you actually have to do, I think, more work in the short week of week 8 than you do, like, in any of the other weeks. Makes no sense, but anyways. So I have homework to do. I'm going to try to mow, but as it is always in April in Ohio, it's been raining for like a week, and now it's currently like 45 degrees outside, so we'll see if I get to that. What else do I have going on? That's pretty much it for the weekend. I got to study later this afternoon for what I'm preaching, but like I said, I wanted to get some content in this morning so I can get some messages out to you guys. And lastly, so I won't, I'm not, I'm not trying to like stir controversy with a statement like this or anything, because I know that I've talked about it. I can't remember the last time I talked about it. It's been like a week, I think, at least. But there was this post on social media about, and I love it. I just absolutely love it. It's a guy holding scissors, these large, huge pair of like joke scissors, and above it's a meme, and above the picture it says, so you're just going to cut out all bands like Bethel and Hillsong and Elevation and stuff like that, and then the guy's got scissors. And so, like, it's a joke. Like, he's like, yeah, I'm willing to do that. And so a friend of mine, he posted it on social media, and it kind of like blew up, and people were really giving him a hard time. And somebody made the comment about if you disagree with their theology, then you just throw the baby out with the bathwater or something like that. I'm sort of paraphrasing, but I'm leading into what I want to talk about. And this conversation I had with people, I have it all the time. I really do. I talk about music more than anything. I think I talk about more about music because so many people are quick to defend their favorite artists. It's just it blows my mind, honestly, the amount of defense people give to Bethel because they're a broken clock, and every once in a while they have a song that's theologically sound from a lyrical perspective. Keep that in mind. But it's amazing. Like, and the response is always this: I listened to that song and it produced some sort of feeling inside of me. So what we've done when it comes to worship songs, we have now elevated our feelings above truth. Okay. Now, what people will say is, I evaluate the lyrics, not the person singing. And that's what, like, is most confusing to me, because if I were to say to you, well, what if an atheist was singing a worship song and their lyrics were correct, and that song produced some kind of feeling in you, but the guy that's singing is an atheist? Is that okay? Like, because the lyrics aren't a problem. Like, the lyrics are okay. Like, if an atheist is singing a song, and I quote unquote, you can't see it if you're on the podcast, but I'm doing quotes, is a Christ exalting song. Of course, it's not actually a Christ exalting song because he's an atheist, and so he's not able to do that. But if we're specifically talking about the lyrics that he wrote and is singing, if the lyrics are theologically sound and you are singing along and it produces some sort of an emotional response inside of you, does that mean now that song is legit? And I think everybody would have to say no. So why is it different when it's Bethel? Why is it different when it's Hillsong? And why is it different when it's Elevation? And all these other worship bands that are representing of churches that are false. Why is it different? Why do we have to say when it comes to Bethel, well, you just got to take the good with the bad, and there's so many songs and they impact people, and you can't throw it all out, and you just got to listen, you got to weed through the bad. Like, you don't. You really don't. What that is, okay, and I'll take flack for this. I'm willing to do so because I feel so adamantly about this. That's you justifying your inability to give up that worship band. That's what it is. I get it because I was at that point one time. I really was. I talked about it before. I used to listen to Bethel, and I used to listen to Stephen Furtick, and I used to listen to Elevation Worship and Hillsong and all those people. But it got to the point to where I was like, I can't do this. I can't listen to a band that is not theologically sound, that comes from a church that is not theologically sound at all. Because when you listen to Bethel, you are endorsing the garbage that they are spewing out all across this world. You really are. When you are endorsing that church and saying, I agree with what they are doing. You may not think that, but by listening to them, that's exactly what you are doing. It's exactly what you were doing. And so this post on social media kind of blew up, and I was just sort of observing, and it really speaks to what people think about Bethel. It really does. That they try to defend what Bethel does. They try to say it's okay. It's not that big of a deal. And it really is. The reality of it is, go watch videos of Jesus Culture conferences or concerts, and look at the amount of youth that are at these concerts. It's wild. It's absolutely wild. That's how they're drawing people into their teaching, is with their music. But get to the point to where you're okay evaluating who they are, not just the specific lyrics that they're saying. Because, again, the messenger is the problem, okay? Their lyrics, yeah, they've got songs that are absolutely horrible theologically, when it's very clear that you should not be singing songs like that. But the messenger is what the issue is. The problem that I have is with Bethel directly. It's not always just the words. It's them. And should you cut them out entirely? Absolutely you should. You can't. I'm very passionate about stuff like this, and I know a lot of you know that, and some of you that are new to the podcast are starting to learn that. And some of you think that's all I ever talk about, and I really don't. If you look at my content, I've got over 100 videos on YouTube, and I think 3 videos have the word Bethel in them, honestly. I am very... I try to be selective when I talk about this because I don't want people to think that's all that I talk about. I have a lot of private conversations with people about it through social media and through in my day-to-day interactions and stuff like that. So yeah, I might talk about it more often in messages and stuff like that. But when I'm producing content, if I feel that there's something going on that I need to talk about, I have to do that. Like I can't not do that. The reason why I started doing what I do through social media is to help other people. And if I see something going on and I choose to remain silent, I'm guilty. I am not doing you good service if I'm not helping you out with something that is false, with something that is wrong. And listen, there are plenty of solid worship bands that you can replace and put instead of Bethel. Believe me, there's so much. That's what's kind of it's kind of sad, because there's a lot of good worship bands that get overshadowed because they don't got millions of followers. They don't have millions of followers on social media, and they're not selling out arenas and stuff like that because they're so undershadowed by Bethel and Hillsong and Elevation and stuff like that. And I know Bethel is the big name, and so people understand why you shouldn't listen to Bethel, but yet they still choose to listen to Bethel. So then when you hear like Hillsong and Elevation, you start moving down the line, you kind of think like, well, what's wrong with them? Like, why don't you listen to them? I can kind of understand Bethel, but what's wrong with Hillsong and Elevation? Let's talk about that. Send me a message. I would love to discuss that with you because I think there's some really good conversations that can come out of that. It's similar to Bethel. It's the same reason why, but they also have some things going on that I think are important for you to know. So I think I'll stop there. I've yapped enough for a Saturday morning. It is only 9 o'clock on Saturday morning, and I am already this far into my day. Listen, This is completely off topic, but I have been waking up early lately, and man, I've just been able to spend time in the morning studying and just reading, and really have enjoyed my time in the morning. And so we have some amazing content coming up. I've got planned out for quite a long time. I'm working on all kinds of stuff right now. I'm just excited. I'm really excited to produce content. I'm really excited to be a part of Dead Men. I'm really excited to be at the Cruciform Conference. There's just a lot going on. So, if you would please subscribe to our content on YouTube, youtube.com/Theology Nights. And I posted this as well the other day because I know most of you are Apple users, which is okay if you want to use iPhones. I'm not here to judge you. We're trying to get some more traction on iTunes. So if you would subscribe and leave us a review through that as well. Or if you're Android, if you use the superior device, find us on Spotify or Google Podcasts or anything like that. Subscribe and review our content. Helps us to get promoted. And like us on Facebook, facebook.com/Theology Nights. I'll see you guys every Tuesday night at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time for the live show. Have a wonderful weekend, guys. If I can help with anything, please send me a message. Talk to you soon. See ya.